Lights come. That's good. We're glad.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. Almost wish there was like a curtain. We just
it would
get
be
rid
nice
of them
right now. Yeah,
it's like the live studio audience has been growing every episode.
Has it? Oh, that's good to have good numbers going up and up and up.
But we don't invite them; they just turn up. It's not good. It puts me at discomfort as well.
Yeah,
but
it's just knowing there's like people there.
Eventually,
watching.
Our eyes will adjust to how bright it is here and how dark it is. That we'll forget. But yeah. Anyway, Maksim.
Hello.
Welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Did you want to do a little intro about you for the?
Sure thing. Well, my name is Maksim Podorozkin. I was born in Lithuania, in a small town that was built by Soviet Union, and migrated here with my family in 2005. So I feel like Northampton is a bit of my home now, really. And yeah, I take pictures now and again, something that I enjoy doing and do see myself doing for the rest of my life. And yeah, I'm just your sort of average white guy taking pictures, I guess.
It's such a downplay of what you actually do, because it's like you've been slightly distruthful, because you are a very good photographer.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We had you in the studio almost over a year ago now, right?
Yeah. No,
it was February 2023.
Yeah,
I think.
It's crazy, like to think like how.
What happened?
I know,
Where did it go?
Yeah. Like I just sometimes I like think about it as like, oh damn, like I had a whole exhibition, like solo exhibition here,
which was
like in Northampton,
so
and
sick.
It just, I don't know, it's like filled with so many like good memories. Like
it was such a fun day as well. I remember it being warm, which was weird because it was February. It felt like summer. It was odd.
It was very warm. Yeah, I remember like sweating.
It was a good sign from above. But yeah, I basically just want to nerd out about the show, because for me it was of the 2023 year of exhibitions where we were like, we didn't know whether we were actually going to pull it off or not, to be honest. Like not your show, but like the set of 12. But your show was one of my favorites from that year. I'd say so.
Thank you.
But do you want to explain the show basically?
Yeah, definitely. So of course I found out that you guys were like holding exhibitions, and I always wanted to have a solo exhibition. I had like a few, my photos being, in the NN Contemporary, had a few photos in other places, but like my dream was to have my first solo thing, just, making it about me. So I came to you guys and I was like, hey, I want to do this thing. I didn't have the name for it, I think, at the time.
I don't know how. There was, like, you were telling us about, I don't know whether you showed us the photos. I think maybe some really early stuff. Or
probably
stuff that was like from previous projects. They were like, it's a continuation of this sort of thing, with a bit different, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the thing is, I was always into, like, any sort of type of photography, mostly like portraiture or self-portraiture. And I was really wanting to sort of expand my, photography into other
sort of areas.
ways. Yeah. So I wanted to try myself out in landscape photography. And I also wanted to put myself into them somehow. And I just had these visuals in my head and ideas where I would, photograph large spaces and vast spaces of, be it, the seaside or the woods or any sort of industrial estates. And I would place myself in them to sort of have that comparison of,
it's the contrast of the two.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, being such a small person in these large, vast expanses of space. And sort of the idea sort of started developing more and more as I was taking pictures throughout that period when I came to you guys with the idea, and then I just started working on the project. I think we like figured out a date. And then I was working towards it.
Yeah, like I say, you'd already like sort of started formulating it. And it's funny you should say about like you wanted to do an exhibition, because you were also like on our, it was kind of like a weird, I don't know what you call it, happenstance of just like, of our list of original people, there was like a bunch of names who were like, oh, we want to do 12, so we better write down like 30 different people, and like throughout, and you were on the list, like, and then before we'd even actually asked you, I think you came round and said about it, and we're like, perfect.
There we go.
And then we just kind of figured out how long you thought the project would take to sort of bring into reality, basically, and that's how it ended up being in February, which was cool. Sure. And the result was, really cool.
Yeah,
like,
definitely. I mean, I was quite, surprised myself, in all honesty. When I started, taking the pictures, and actually what helped me is having that deadline for the exhibition. I was like, hey, I need to have this amount of images. I'll need this amount of time to print the work, and then make sure, the prints are to the standard that I want them to be. And then that sort of pushed me to actually, go out there and be creative, get myself out there into these beautiful spaces, and, just show them off at the exhibition, which was probably like the best moment of that year for me, in all honesty.
Nice. I'm glad our little box on the race course could help.
Like, it was, to me, it was such a big thing. Like, as I said before, like, I only had, those little exhibitions where my photos were part of, the NN contemporary exhibition, and, there and there. But, like, to have my own solo thing was just sort of the top of the list. I remember after it, I came home after the exhibition, and I just sat down on my bed in full, like, catharsis. It's just like, I was like drained, because it was such a busy and like.
It was one of those ones where it was constant, like every Tuesday you'd be talking to someone, and then someone else would walk in who would wave at you and be like, "Oh, come talk to you in a bit," and you're like,
literally. Like, I felt like I was like talking non-stop, and then I got home, sat down on my bed, and I just started crying. Like, it was that deep. Like, it was just, I don't know, it felt like it was a good cry. Like, it was like tears of joy. Like,
I guess after the amount of like work you put into it, even just like down to like, I just remember the prints you brought were like, did you reprint some stuff as well? Because you were like,
what I did was, of course, working in a printing and camera shop, like it was kind of useful to be able to see the whole process of printing happen. So I tried a few different papers just to see what sort of look of paper I liked. And then, so I did a few copies of that, and then I decided on the paper, and it was just the first print that came out with the paper of my choice. And I was like, yeah, this is the one. This is the one that will work for the space.
That's super cool, because like a lot of sort of photographers, especially when you're printing digitally, there's always that thing of like, if you don't have a good connection with a printer, you're just like, okay, so I've given you my money, you're going to post it to me in a couple of weeks, and you're like, it could end up complete shit, or it could be great, or...
Definitely. Yeah, I remember when, I think during it, I went to London for just like a random trip, and I went into one of the printing shops in London. It didn't seem like too high-end, but when I asked them, like, oh, how much is going to be one print on this sort of paper, this sort of mount, and then they gave me the price, and I was like, excuse me?
You're just like, oh,
right.
Okay.
I'll just go.
Yeah.
It was crazy to know, like, this is the industry standard, in all honesty, like, for London, I guess.
I guess, but it depends, like, as well, like, what... Like you said, there's a million different types of paper. There's a million different types of like actual processes of getting the ink onto the paper. You've got like inkjet. You've got like the I can't remember the name of the other process that's very popular. But you know, like the more
printing, like that.
Well, yeah, you've got all that stuff as well. Silver gelatin, all of that, and it just everything costs money, and it requires expertise to do well as well. Like,
exactly.
You can get the fanciest paper, but if you fuck it up, it's like expensive mistake. But for sure. And like a lot of people don't it feels rarer and rarer as time goes on that you get to actually like physically print out your work in a way that's like not just using free prints. It's just like in a very considered way, like printing stuff, because like you say, like the dark rooms kind of vanishing off the face of the earth, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But as well, like, it was like, even if, like, for me, even if I had a dark room, I'm still going to be shooting digital, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Oh,
but
yeah, 100%. Like, it's a great medium to know and to have, like, under your belt. But the thing is, the cost of it is just skyrocketing every year.
Yeah.
Like Kodak, Ilford, they're all increasing their prices every single year. Like, I see it at the place where I work, and it's just sad that people are now having to, you know, consider, hey, like, it will be much cheaper if I just, you know, shoot digitally rather than on film.
Yeah, and produce prints from that.
Exactly. Yeah, like, it all just costs money. So people are moving more towards the digital era
which makes sense, and it works.
Yeah,
you can take
sure.
way more pictures, but I think it's just the losing contact with the sort of, like, even I get stuff printed, which I haven't done in a long while, and I need to get back to it. It's still just like, you send it off. Some places don't even give you paper options. Some places give you, there's two paper options. There's a cheap one that they're going, this is shit, or there's the good one that, like you say, it costs a fucking ridiculous amount, and you still don't. It's just a paper name that, like, you can roughly gauge maybe how thick it is, or like, but you can never truly actually know, like, what it's going to be like. So it's kind of interesting. It like, and it made a difference to your show here as well, because it was like, you knew everything about it. It's like, I imagine there's been a few photographers open up and they're just like, shit. Like,
definitely. I mean, that's the thing. You got to, like, you know, pick your paper. You got to pick your, you know, the thickness, the finish of the paper to suit the space as well, not just the work. Like, of course, I knew the kind of lighting that I wanted here, and I'm not going to pick, you know, glossy paper with the type of lighting where, you know, people are not going to be able to see anything because it just
it's just not going to work.
You got to pick the right thing for the purpose.
And it felt very sort of like, one of the things I liked about the show is, like you say, you set up the lights in a certain way. It was very considered, like, the paper type, what was being presented, how it was being presented as, and it's an underrated thing, I think, because a lot of people want to get to, like, what's in the photo very quickly, which is, like, obviously also very important, like,
definitely
is a key piece, but the presentation just adds that extra level.
It does, yeah. I mean, for me, like, I wanted to make it more of a an immersive thing. Like, I wanted to use the light in a specific way to sort of make the photos.
It brought the focus in.
Yeah, exactly. Bring the focus to the pieces, and then, you know, bring, you know, the plants. You know, bring the.
I forgot about the plants.
So I brought the plants just to, you know, bring out, you know, the nature themes within the photos, and I think it worked really well for, you know, how I envisioned it.
It was super cool, and it made a space that everyone. I've often thought about with exhibitions about how you have to put people into the right mind, like, headspace going in, and you have to sort of, like, all those little details, like you talk about, like the plants and the lighting and stuff. You can use that to get people into the right frame of mind before they start looking at the work. Which is super important, because that stops people just like, cool photo, bye. Versus, like, actually sitting and being like, oh, okay, what's going on? It, like, really, like you say, brought out, like, the nature themes and stuff. It kind of told people what they should be considering before they actually looked. And, like, thematically in the work was, like, super cool as well, with the nature themes and just the idea of vastness and, like, how small we are, which is
definitely. I think that was, like, my main sort of thing that I wanted to show in the photographs. You know, like, I went to Diddle Door, you know, I took pictures on the beach, and you know, you got your massive white cliffs of Dover, if you want to call it that, and I put myself in those pieces to show that, hey, look how how small we are in these huge spaces. Like the world is such a big thing that we live on. It's just crazy to me that, you know, we haven't explored enough, and we just stay in one place, and, like, we haven't seen, you know, what happens, you know, even in Wales, like, a lot of people who, like, live here, they haven't even traveled out of
the postcode.
Yeah. So like
it happens.
Well, for me personally, like I want to go out and explore. I want like other people to go out and explore the world that we live in, because I mean, what there's a saying, like that one saying, what's it called, like YOLO. Like, so
I thought you were going to bring up some sort of intense idiom from ancient wisdom,
of course,
which I guess it kind of is YOLO.
I mean, nowadays, yeah, like
just modern wisdom.
Yeah, you do only live once. Like it is, why not now? You go out and explore what's out there in the world. Like what's around the corner. Like even you don't even have to go to another country. Wales, stunning. Peak District, beautiful. Scotland, it's an amazing has amazing views. Like why not just go out there and see it for yourself rather than just looking at it through your mobile phone. Yeah.
And that's an interesting sort of, I was going to say take on your project, but it's not take. That was your intention.
No, I don't think it was. No,
that's what you pulled from the work, even if it wasn't your intention when it comes together. Because after reading the thing and about the idea of insignificance, it made me. Though that series of photos gave me a similar feeling to when you stare into space for too long and then you're like, oh, shit, that's incomprehensible. Sure. Like that idea of sort of just, you're fucking nothing. We're on a rock hurtling towards something. Yeah. Like it's like, I don't know, or it's that vastness that makes the cliffs and things really sort of awe-inspiring. There's a certain scale where it starts to get a little bit freaky again, which kind of was, I don't know, it's a fun feeling, but also just it's a sense of adventure almost, like you were saying about wanting to go out and explore. And as well, it's what's interesting about your one as well, it had, so there was 5 photos. Yes. There was, I see you looking, double checking the ones on the wall.
just trying to remind myself, what pictures did I take?
I remember there was 2 forest-based ones, the cliff one, and then this is being tested. You're like,
I know.
And then the 2 slightly industrial ones,
yes,
which they were really interesting because from people I've talked to about it, people tended to lean one way or the other, and it was interesting because it kind of said a lot about them as a person when they were because some people were like, I don't care about the forest ones, but the ones with the buildings in are really cool, and they're cool in the same way, but for slightly different reasons.
Oh yeah, sure.
And I think appeal to different sort of themes on Instagram. Because once you had those buildings and the factories in, then you have the idea of you're just a slave to the factory idea, but also
definitely.
They also looked really cool. Whatever time of day you shot those with the way the lights came through and that little, there was one that had the little window on it.
Yeah.
That was also interesting to me as well, because you had postcards at your exhibition too. So there was some that were 6x4 scale, and then the big ones that were
A2.
A2?
Yeah.
A2. And in the A2 one, everyone picked out that window. That was really cool. But if they picked out that photo on the postcard, there was a very different reason they liked it.
Yeah.
And because the window was then this small.
Yeah.
And suddenly it brought your human figure to more prominence as well.
Yeah.
And that was also just interesting to see that it's the exact same photo, same process basically, and the scale of it completely changed what people were thinking about and picking on, which
definitely. I mean, that window, I didn't even realize it was there, not until I was editing the photos, and I was quite surprised. I was I think that's one of the part of the photos. I was oh yeah, this is the one for the exhibition. It's this symmetry of it is perfect. You got your nice composition to it, the color, I think there was the flowers as well. You could see on the ground.
Yeah.
And then that window, the reflection in the window of, I think it was a car that was passing by on the other side of the street. And I was yeah, this is
the one.
This has to be in the exhibition.
It was interesting what you mentioned about the flowers, because those 2 industrial ones that always struck me as just it gave them a sort of weird surreal feeling that they weren't this building is on built on concrete, but they look like they're just like plonked down in a field somewhere, because it's like all like almost like there's the one with the trees around it. It's like almost like you're in the middle of a wood and you come across this sort of industrial looking building, which gave such a strange feeling to it.
Sure. I mean, that's the thing. Like with we're going back to sort of the nature theme of it, because anywhere like you go, like nature is present, and I think that's also the reason why I wanted to bring plants into the immersive side of the exhibition. The nature is all around us. Like, you know, you got your wooden table, like that's, you know, been grown for, you know, a couple of 100 years outside, and you got, you know, your plants, your little weeds that are just grown out of, you know, concrete, and like nature is everywhere. Like it's gonna spring back up. Like, you know, wherever, you know, you build, you know, a massive warehouse, nature will still come back.
Take it back. Which is also, I guess, feeds into that theme of insignificance as well, because it's like, build what you like, it's we're just going to grow over it,
definitely.
you know what I mean?
That's like, you know, how insignificant we are. Like once we're gone, nature
it just
will
goes back.
come back.
But
I think that's sort of a beautiful way about it. Like
it's
how nature
quite optimistic in a weird way, even though we're being like, once we're all dead, once we're forgotten and extinct. And
no, I mean, like, I like the idea that, you know, however much we fucked up this whole world with, you know, war, famine, you know, climate change and everything like that, nature will come back in one way or another, unless we just completely nuke this whole place down. You never know.
Give it a couple million years, it might swing back eventually once sort of dust settles.
I didn't want to make it too depressing, sorry, by the way.
It's all good. I want to loop in background a little bit. Just, you were saying about like when you saw that light reflection that helped with the sort of, you were like, that's the one. Was there moments like that with the other photographs, or just the selection process in general? Like, because you shot a lot of photos. Like I went with you on one of the shoots, and it was like a good, you know, 100 and something shots, and then narrowed it down to 5.
I'm constantly clicking on that shutter button. It's better to have a variety rather than nothing. The other industrial one, that photo just didn't, you know, I just didn't stumble upon the place. I've actually taken the picture of that exact spot before on film. I used to go out quite often on night walks with my medium format film camera. Just, you know, practice and, you know, just see what I can make out during the night. And industrial estates always sort of like intrigued me in a way, just because of the lighting, the shapes of the buildings, the whole sort of the architecture of them all. And I've taken this one photo, and it was beautiful, beautiful picture. I think that's like probably my favorite film photograph that I've ever taken. You've got this beautiful light coming from behind one of the buildings, shining on the other building, and you've got the pine trees just creating beautiful shapes, and you've got the window on the building that's reflecting light from the street. And I don't know, there's just something about that photo that just like warms up my heart. And that photograph is always in my head, and I wanted to recreate it again, but to fit the
rest of the project.
So I went back out there, and I decided, let's see if I can place myself within this image to be able to, you know, show insignificance of how small I am to these man-made infrastructures where, you know, that, you know, provide, you know, food, like, you know, your warehouse, and your where, like, you know, they deliver food and stuff. So just to see if I can make something out of it. And like, I took the picture and I was like, yeah, that's the one. Like, because I don't know, I feel like that photo just can't be done wrong. I mean, probably can, but
I imagine it can.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I was like, I need this photo in this scene, in this exhibition, because I think it's just a great location. So yeah.
And then talk about like film photography as well. So how long have you been in the game of taking pictures?
Film, I've been taking pictures on 35mm film probably, I think probably 5 or 6 years just before COVID. And then digitally, I've been taking pictures probably since my early teens. Of course, you know, everybody has, you know, back in the day had like that one family camera.
Yeah, yeah. Stolen from an attic or
of
like...
course, obviously, yeah. And I think it was some sort of a Panasonic Lumix bridge camera.
Nice.
And yeah, I just took it, you know, and I was just taking pictures. You know, when you're young, I feel like everybody has that thing where, like, you know, they take pictures of bugs and like
just
leaves.
Everything.
Yeah, literally just everything. And I think like that's where like it began for me.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of, you know, when
spiraled.
It spiraled. You know, I bought myself, you know, another camera. Then, you know, then my sister gave me her camera, and then, which was a Sony, and I think that's when my Sony, I think that's when my like Sony journey has begun. And then when I thought, I was like, oh, like, you know, start taking pictures of my friends or during college, of like, you know, just pictures of rehearsals and stuff. And I was like, oh, like, this is fun. I like taking pictures. Let me see if there's another camera that I can invest in. Then bought my next camera, and then realized like, oh, there's this medium that I've never heard of, film photography. I was like, oh, there we go. Let me try that out. And then I think it was a little Canon compact camera, point and shoot, that I found in my grandparents' cupboard. And I asked them if I could have it. They said yeah, and it worked fine. I still have it, and it works. And yeah, I think that's begun the obsession of film. And then also being poor from buying film.
From then on.
And yeah, I just loved the whole medium, just loved the grain, loved how it was a nice way to learn, you know, your ISO, shutter speed, and aperture.
Yeah, all the stuff.
I think that's sort of the best way to learn how to use your camera manually, is to shoot film.
Have it go wrong a million times.
Exactly, yeah. And like,
because every time your wallet gets smaller and you realize you've got to get it right at some point.
So you learn from your mistakes, and yeah, and I just love the medium so much. I don't know, just the feeling of it, like knowing this is like how pictures were taken back in the day, like the nostalgia of it all, seeing, you know, the photographs in your family albums. It just, I don't know, it's such a...
They have a feeling. I totally get it, because like when I started photography in school, it was like pretty basically started on film. My mum had bought like a DSLR that I used for a bit, and then like my granddad was just like, oh, you're doing a course, here's these 3 film cameras that he'd had from back in the day.
Perfect.
And then I was just like, and then immediately it was like my mum's DSLR was like, that can be yours, I'm using my film cameras. And then poor from then on. Like but yeah, and it just has something so tactile to it that like digital kind of loses, because you are just like pressing. That's when it feels like pressing a button. As film, it feels like everything's considered, and like,
oh yeah, definitely.
There's always that magic of like, have you ever done like darkroom printing?
Not darkroom printing, and neither darkroom developing, because I am scared to do it. I've done it like once, where I was like shown how to do black and white developing. I've done it, and yeah, I'm never doing it again, because I feel like I'll ruin it. So I'd rather not. I'd rather give it to a professional who can do it.
Fair enough. In safe hands.
Exactly.
But in darkroom printing, when you just take this basically a blank piece of paper and then you put it, there's this weird, it looks like the closest I've seen to actually being like, if I saw this 100 years ago, I'd call witchcraft. Like, it's magical, where it just fades on to, like, just a realistic image fading onto paper out of nowhere. It's just like, it's just even just that, it's like, you don't get that with digital. Like,
oh no, for sure. Yeah, like, I mean, there is a skill to it. Like, you having like seen it go from what is it, like gelatin negative, where it's made out of, to with some chemicals on it, from that, and then holding it in your hand. Like the whole process of it is just mind-blowing to me. Like, how does that happen?
It seems more magic than digital, even though digital is crazy technology as well.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. Like, yeah, I mean, like late 90s, like when, you know, digital started to like rolling in, or early 2000s, people were like, whoa, like I can take this many pictures. Like, it's mad. Yeah,
and I can reuse the SD card. I don't have to buy a new one every single time. Damn, it's crazy. Like, yeah, it was really something else. God damn, you wanting to make some bad financial decisions right now.
I know. Yeah, it's awful. Yeah, like I did buy some film earlier today because I'm going to Peak District this weekend.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, oh, what should I take with me? I was like, yeah, let's be poor. Let's take some film. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. Just like see what I can capture. Yeah. And like the thing is, like, and going back to like digital or film, I feel like if you're taking photos digitally, like you take them and then you just forget about them in your hard drive or your phone or whatever.
Yeah.
But like with film, because you've paid money for it, you're in a way forced
to give a shit.
To give a shit about the photos.
Even if it's terrible,
exactly.
You're like, well,
like, this is what I've got to work with. And then, you know, you make something out of them. You print them, you post them, you edit them, you do more with them rather than with digital. Like I have like pictures from my trips like from years ago that are still on my computer waiting to be edited.
Yeah,
I just forgotten about them.
And but as well, like it's interesting when I meet photographers who are like really digital guys who are like, even when they're shooting, they're like transfer from the SD card, and they just start like going through deleting NEF files, and I'm like. Yeah. Like, but with a negative, you wouldn't get your strip of 36 and be like, that one shit, cut it out, bin it. Like, you'd just be like, no, I'm like, keep all of it, like, exactly. And go back through.
Yeah, there is like a little bit more sentimentality to it. Like, oh, like I can't just get rid of this. I can't just bin it. But with digital, you're like, oh yeah, I can take it again. Like I can shoot however many times. But with film, you're like, this one shot got to be done right.
Yeah.
And like I think that's what like makes my brain go like, yeah, you do.
I've got to do everything now because I can't immediately see it.
For sure.
Yeah, and I'm going to kick myself if I then come back home, open up, get the film back, and you're like, I've waited 2 weeks to see this and it wasn't good. It's like digital, you can just be like, try again, try again, and just have that sort of...
I don't want to like say it, but I think I'm going to say it. There's a little bit of laziness in digital photography.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you just start... you just start with shit ones. You just want to get into shooting as quickly as possible.
Yeah, definitely. You want to get the product out quickly. And like, I feel like that's the age that we live in. People want things now. They want it immediately. Like they want, you know, you did some photos for a client. The client wants the pictures next day. Like, hell no. Like, you can wait. Yeah. But like with film, the process is so much slower. It's a little bit more relaxed. You can, you know, take time with it just to get your shot right. And I think that's what I enjoy about film. You're having to slow down with this process in this such a fast-paced world that we live in, where things have to happen now.
And it's kind of, we're even with just like the wider sort of personal or like art practices, you're always kind of battling that temptation, because it's like, even when you're shooting film as well, because, you know, Instagram exists, the internet exists, and it's like, you got to keep up, and you're like, oh
definitely.
Shit. Yeah. When really it's like, some projects want you not to do it that fast, you know what I mean? It's like, sometimes you need to spend the time to get it right, and rather than just be like, okay, here's 4 good ones and then a bunch of other random shit that's just gone to throw out because I need to put something out, like, or...
That's the frustrating part. Like, that's why, like, I feel like I don't post as often anymore on my page, because I don't want to be that guy who just puts out random shit just to
fill the gap.
Fill people's feeds and just to be seen. Yeah. Like, no, I'll post it when I feel like
it's time and it's ready. Yeah.
Something I want to share with people, not just, you know, just random clips of what I've taken.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's sort of this, just fighting that urge to just like
like I'm not about that grinding life. I want to sit back and relax, you know. I'm tired all the time. Like I just want to take a few good pictures, ponder on them, and then if I want to share them, I'll share them. But otherwise I just want to be, you know, sitting in my, you know, in my bed and just eating chips. I don't know. Like I just don't want to be grinding away,
going mad,
grinding my life away like that.
That's it's interesting you say about like pondering on photographs, because have you gone back and looked at the series? Obviously it was like February last year.
I have not looked at them. No, not at all. Like I think like probably I only
that
see
was
them
the first time.
I only
in the corner
see them every time I come to your studio.
And there's the postcards up.
I did that. But no, I don't know. I feel like those photos like have had their moment. Like I feel like maybe I can.
Do you ever go back on work? Like look at old, because I feel like it's a photographer thing a little bit to want to go back through your old work and be like, oh, remember this, remember that.
Yeah, I mean,
do you or don't
now
you?
And again,
some do,
like,
some don't.
Yeah, if I'm like need something to post, if I have to post something, then sure, I'll go through like my gallery or whatever. But otherwise, no. Like I've taken the pictures, I sent them off to the clients. I've done that series. I'm done with it. Like let you know, marinade. And then I can maybe later on, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow I will go back to like, I'm feel re-inspired. Let's see what I can do with these photos. Maybe make something out of them.
Well, not even to like make something out of them. I just mean, like you say, even just that act of going back through your gallery and looking at old work tends to be a weird experience. I went back through all my old like A-level stuff, and you find, or just like even just like, I used to get all my film developed at Skiers and also get the prints with it.
Nice,
and Skiers don't edit your work down. They just send you a print of every awful one. And again, there's still that element of like, well, I've paid for it, I'm going to keep it and put it in this album. So I have albums of just like blank rolls of film or blurry rolls and just like shit. But it's weird to go back through and just be like, it's a terrible photo, but like, remember that when that shot was there? Remember like just seeing these weird things, which you say insignificant now because they're fucking gone.
Exactly. That's in the past now. We're living in now.
And that's a good point, because I guess there is such a thing as dwelling on it too much.
No, for sure. Like I don't want like like you can, you know, go back and see how like you developed through time, see, you know, what needs working on and stuff like that. But I don't know, like it happened. It happened. We're living in now. Like it's fine. Like let's just move on with like stuff.
That's like interesting take for a photographer to have. Because just to be like, let's get back to the present, fuck the past.
Sure. I mean, like my mum like sometimes says like, oh, like I'm living one day at a time, obviously translating to Russian,
right?
Like it sounds different, but like I like that, you know, I like that saying. We're like, you know, let's live one day at a time. Like it's just, you know, what happened yesterday. Like let's, you know, not dwell on things for too long. I think
it's interesting because like taking photos is dwelling on the past, because like you hear interviews from like a lot of these sort of like photographers, like say Nan Golding or something, being like the main reason she was taking pictures of her dying friends and that time period was to try and like hold on to it as much as she can. You find that as like normally a common thread, so you're kind of a rebel to sit here and just be like, move on. Like just live in the now. It's like an odd
I mean, that's the thing, like maybe like, I mean, that's bringing like up another photographer, like what's her name, Vivian
Maya?
Vivian Maya. Like I don't know my photographers, by the way. Like Vivian Maya, like she took pictures. She took so many pictures. She
never showed them to anyone.
She probably never intended to show any of those photographs.
They were found in like a chest under her bed or something, like years later.
No, exactly. And like, but she didn't want them to be seen by anyone, probably. And like, I like that idea.
Yeah.
Like, she documented her life for herself, not for anybody else's viewing. Like, I don't know.
It's an interesting thing because I feel like, I don't know. I'm an oversharer when it comes to photography. I'm going to be honest. Like, yeah, I have but I do understand it when sometimes there's a photo that you're just like, I like it, and I know no one else is going to give a shit. It's like such a weird balance to strike sometimes, especially because you want other people to like what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
But also you shouldn't really give a shit. Exactly.
Yeah, like you can take so many pictures, like a few people may like them, few people not, and like, yeah, like who gives a crap? Like, there's a lot of people who's not gonna like your work. There's a lot of people who's gonna hate you as a person. Like, but again, who cares?
Who cares? It's insignificant.
Like, that's right. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, like we just in this little in this huge world, we're just little things, and like why do we worry about such insignificant things? Yeah. Like, it's unnecessary to worry about who's gonna like me and who's gonna not. Like, who cares? Like, we're all gonna die in the end. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. 3 generations down, they won't remember.
No, that's right.
Hopefully they'll be watching the podcast in the year 3000.
Fingers crossed. But like, again, like, I don't remember my great-great-grandparents. Like, all I got is pictures of them. So, like, nobody's gonna... Well, so it's becoming a bit too deep.
That's good for this podcast. You should see some of the other episodes we've got.
I know. You're welcome.
But yeah, no, it is strange because I guess as photographers we're constantly dealing with those themes. Like you say, it's like I didn't know same as you didn't know my great uncle or whatever. But there's probably pictures of him if I digged hard enough. Like, someone took this picture, and at the time they probably didn't take the picture going, you know what? In 100 and something years' time, Joe's going to make a podcast and he's going to get talking to this guy called Maksim, and he's going to then suddenly be like, I'll go find it. They probably just was like, oh, you look nice today. You know what I mean?
I know, right? Yeah. I mean, I do. Like, I was talking to my grandma recently, and I said to her, like, oh, am I okay to have all the photos that you've kept from, like, generations and generations? And like, I think, like, probably going away from the subject, but I think I would want to be like the photograph keeper of the family. Like,
it makes sense.
Yeah, like, I obviously our grandparents, like my grandparents, they have so many like photos, like printed photos, obviously, and like so many negatives, and like it would be such a nice feeling just to be able to be that keeper of all those photographs.
Yeah, and also I guess to some extent the continuer as well.
Oh yeah, like, definitely. Like, the thing is, everything's so digital these days. Like, everything's kept on a hard drive, on your phone, on in the cloud or whatever. But there's not many physical copies, and all those copies of photographs from your grandparents, if you don't archive them, if you don't keep them, they're all just going to be destroyed. All those memories going to be destroyed, lost.
And it's interesting you say about, like, now everyone shoots on smartphones. Smartphone breaks or you get a new phone.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
I've went through however many phones in my lifetime, and it's just like every time that's like a couple years of phone photos.
Oh yeah, definitely
gone. Like, because I don't fuck around and back them up, or I'm dealing with crappy Androids. They're not going to magically pop
like,
between.
I've got like thousands and thousands of photos on my phone. Am I going to do anything with them? Probably not. But the thing is, on that phone, I have like so many significant things like on them, like, my nephews, like just my whole life in general, like that I wouldn't want to lose. Yeah. But like, what if my phone dies? Like,
and phones are better now, like you say, with the cloud, and like sometimes you get a new phone and it transfers
for Google Drive. Thank God.
Yeah, and stuff like that. But like, there's a really weird thing where family albums tended to end around 2004 when people got like digital cameras and stuff. But all of that old digital technology, like, it was like, cool, I've got all these photos. I can't get them off the phone. It's like, no, they're stuck on there. The phone's going to die someday. It's like, it's really interesting. Like, I did in uni, I went back through the family albums that were like just at my house, which obviously are my parents' ones. There's a lot of pictures of me up to a certain age, but my brother, who's like a couple years younger, like, he appears right at the end as like a baby. Like the story basically just ends him being born, and then because that's when it all went digital, and there's like a weird couple of years gap until phone cameras got good enough again to start doing it. It's like
definitely. It is a weird time because you talking about this, I like now thinking when we first moved to England from Lithuania, there is this gap of like where I don't remember the photos because they are all like digital.
Yeah.
But where are those photos?
Yeah, they're
So like, yeah,
on
like
some Nokia
yeah, so like,
phone.
I feel like we lost a couple of years of like our life to this transition from physical
printing them out, getting the film, disposable camera to
like
now.
it's just quite an upsetting thing in all honesty.
And it's kind of like when I was doing the project, it was just like, oh, it's a shame it happened in my family. But then when I was like asking around or like doing research, it's like, oh, hello. But it's like every family. There's like just a weird world-round gap during that period. And it's just like, history books are going to struggle for a couple years of the early 2000s. They're going to be like, fuck, there's nothing, because it's all in a landfill, like
it is,
destroyed, which is crazy to think about. But do you? Because I it's weird to think, because a lot of photographers consider their own work like sort of a diary, and despite how weird or wonderful their work may get, or like arty, quote unquote. And do you ever wonder that you're going to be the continuator of your family's photo album? It's going to go from like family photos, and it'll be like, and then there was the Maksim era, and it was like, probably actually you're a really good portraiter. But if I was put in charge, my family would be like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, just
I remember when I first started taking like self-portraits, there's like a few pictures of me like posing with a cigarette, all moody and edgy, and like, and then when like my grandparents asked for like, you know, oh, can we get like a printed photo of you to put in a frame? I can't be giving these pictures to them. Like it is an interesting thing. Like, I mean, you probably understand whenever like there's a family event happening, oh, can you bring your camera?
Oh yeah. Happened to me 2 weeks ago.
That is so sad. I'm so sorry.
Just like, yeah, it's tragic.
I know.
And then I was like, because my mum was trying to bring her DSLR and being like, Joe can take some photos. And I'm like, we're going to a dark pub. They're going to be shit. I'm not going to sit and set stuff up. Yeah, I'm like,
I'm not getting paid for this.
And it's like, I bought my little camera and was like, Mum, if you want photos of this, you can take it. Because, god damn, I see these people maybe once every 3 or 4 years. I don't care. And I should, but...
I know, yeah, it's like some like family members will be like, you can you take a picture of us, and then you're like, you'll, you know, make me look skinny, you'll like make me lose wrinkles, and I'm like...
I'm not a magician.
Exactly, like...
It's like so far, the camera. Right? The camera lies, but not that much.
No, that's right. But yeah, it's interesting, like being that person in your family circle.
And as well, like the worst part is if they'd said nothing, you probably would have taken a photo. I know. Yeah. Because something would have happened, you would have been like, oh, that's nice. Yeah. Someone's telling you, you just get that. You're just like,
I mean, it is in our mind. Like, we're photographers. Like, we are going to document what's going on in our life. We are going to document, you know, family events. I feel like it's just nature to us. Like, that's... that's, you know,
but we're waiting for like the correct moment, and like having like, we know if they want sort of candid stuff, it can't be like, right, everybody, it's time where the photographer of the family's going to take photos, and you're like, well, now they're going to be shit, because everyone's like, oh god, they're going to get me. Start looking good. Like, and normally what happens is it's one family member who goes, get your camera, come take a picture of these two, and these two are like, I didn't want a picture of me.
Come here, like, I'm posing with your cousin.
Yeah. And the cousin's just like, I don't want to be here.
No, me neither. It's great fun.
But yeah, it's God. I'm thinking about how much damage I've done to the family photo album with my contribution to it.
Probably.
God.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like sometimes like my mum and dad will like say like, oh, like why can't you like take good pictures? And I'm like, Are like
Excuse me?
are pictures of garbage in a industrial estate not good enough for you?
Why don't you just take pictures of nice things? Like, why do you keep picking out horrible stuff?
But it's like I like taking pictures of industrial estates, you know, at night. Like, I like the idea of them. They just don't understand. Like, it's not just a face, Mom. Like,
they just don't get us.
no, they don't. They don't.
The wrong target market, honestly.
No, definitely not.
Oh, God. Well, dude, this has been fun. This has been
Thank
a good
you.
episode. Enjoy the Peak District.
I will do.
Have a good weekend. A couple of days.
Well, I'm working tomorrow, so
Oh, damn.
yeah. Busy me.
Yeah.
You know, what can you do?
But still, yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Of course, yeah. I mean,
Well,
thank you for having me. Thank
no
you.
problem. Is there anyone, whether you want someone to follow you, find you, or otherwise hunt you down?
I mean, if you want to find me, I'm usually at Skiers Photographic working away. And on social media, my @ is Maksim, spelled Maksim, Podorozkin, spelled Podorozkin. But I'm sure it will be linked in the description
Down below. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.